Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Having a great day. Today we really need to break down this new Ferrari F80 versus the McLaren W1. Now these two hypercars mark a whole new generation of hypercars. We originally saw the Holy Trinity back in around 2014 with the Porsche 918 Spider, one of my all-time favorite cars. It was unique having a Spider because the McLaren P1 was simply a coupe, right? And we had the LaFerrari, the Ferrari LaFerrari. They came out with an aperta version of that too, which was a convertible. It was so cool back in the day because all three of those vehicles looked fantastic. They were incredibly fast. They didn't just look good, they were actually fast. I loved watching the journalistic tests where they brought all of those three cars, the Holy Trinity, up against each other on legendary racetracks all around the world. It made for great content for us automotive enthusiasts. I'm excited that this era is finally coming back. Real quickly, I want to interrupt this video because Speed Phenom Film is finally launched. Our world-class paper protection film studio on the beautiful beaches of Carlsbad, California. Come check out the shop. Monday to Friday we are open. You'll find our information in the description down below, and we work on everything from EVs to sports cars, trucks, and supercars. Our team has worked on everything, and we give you the best prices around. So let us know if we can protect you here at Speed Phenom Film. We started this company because we wanted to help all of you, our viewers on the channel, give you unbelievable deals because we want to take care of our supporters. So if you need PPF, tint or ceramic coating, hit us up or stop by the shop to see our showroom anytime during the week. We have tons of cars inside. Call us at 760-496-8607 or email support@speedphenomfilm.com. Back to the content. I really want to break down how they stack up. I actually had experience in the McLaren P1. It's an incredible car to experience on the road. When I first got into one, it was surreal because there were massive carbon fiber A-pillars and a tub that you had to put your legs over and drop down. It was nothing like getting inside of a McLaren let's say 675 LT or a 570S. They're so easy to get in, much easier, because they've developed a way for that tub to go smaller and smaller and very close to the bottom of the actual chassis, so your legs can kind of like cross over and in very easily when getting in and out. The McLaren P1, it felt like getting into an actual spaceship. I opened the door, and the massive door, it was huge. The bottom side skirt was super wide and you can see massive air holes everywhere. Lifting that up, getting inside and shutting the door, it just encapsulates you. It really does. The carbon, the sounds, it was like a spaceship, guys. And I'm explaining it this way because I'm just trying to describe the emotions I felt. When you get on power and let off on power, you would hear massive just whoosh, whoosh, effects from the turbo system of the vehicle. It was pretty incredible. It really was. I never had a chance to experience the LaFerrari. Still, it's going down in the history books as, in my opinion, the second greatest Ferrari ever made. The first is the Enzo for me. The second is the Ferrari, LaFerrari. The McLaren W1 looks like it's winning in a lot of ways right now. It's got 1,258 horsepower, 100 more horsepower than the Ferrari, almost 100 more horsepower. The Ferrari F80 has 1,184 horsepower. Even speaking about the torque with both these vehicles, the McLaren has more torque, 988 pound-feet of torque versus a combined 750 pound-feet of torque out of the Ferrari F80. Altogether so far, the McLaren looks like it's got a more powerful drivetrain setup. It's got more horsepower. It's also an e-motor setup. Altogether, they're both hybrid vehicles. Do you know what I find interesting? And I want to make this a topic of today's video. How similar these cars really are. How do these brands stay so up to date where they know when to announce these vehicles, to have all their press materials ready, all the photos, all that good stuff ready to be unveiled the same month as each other? Have you ever thought of that? Like, how does that work? How did the Holy Trinity, Porsche, Ferrari, McLaren, have a hypercar ready to go that were so close to each other, all using the similar pieces of tech? It doesn't make much sense if you think about it from an outside consumer's perspective, right? Look at this. We've got two incredible new hypercars coming out, yet they're so close in performance. They're both multi-million-dollar vehicles. They're both hybrids. They've both got a ton of downforce, racing-inspired tech. They're designed to be successors for the same exact cars that were also exactly going against each other head-to-head. It's just really weird thinking about it, right? The Ferrari even has less torque. It's got 750 pound-feet of torque versus the combined torque out of the McLaren W1 reaching 900 plus, so 988 pound-feet of torque out of that McLaren. Ferrari went from having a V12 and now they have a 6-cylinder in this new Ferrari. What's really interesting to me thinking about these two new cars coming out is just the McLaren W1 looks like it's got a massive advantage. It revs to 9,200 RPM, so similar to the 9,000 RPM redline of the Ferrari, but with the downforce over 2,000 pounds of downforce and a lap time that's apparently 3 seconds faster than McLaren Senna. McLaren Senna is like the fastest hypercar on the street. It's incredible how fast it's on the racetrack. And looking at this new McLaren being even faster is pretty shocking. The F80 also has a lot of downforce. It's got a peak downforce number of 2,314. I think it could have more downforce actually than the McLaren based off the numbers we have seen, because the McLaren's downforce again is 2,200 pounds. Most people don't talk about suspension, but we need to talk about suspension right here. Here's why this Ferrari has a pretty good advantage in the back end. The McLaren W1 uses coilover suspension technology. This new Ferrari, they have partnered with Multimatic to develop a new suspension system in the back. It's got inboard pushrod suspension dampers, similar to the Mustang and GTD. So when you look at the back end of where the 3-liter V6 is housed, you can see the actual pushrod suspension arms going this way. And it looks incredible. It really does look incredible. I know with Ford, they're putting in a window to view that suspension system. So this Ferrari is going to have a similar version, but obviously it's going to be pushed much further because this is a almost $4 million car. It's going to be extremely capable inside this Ferrari. So the Multimatic team, they know what they're doing. They're partnered with great companies all around the world. Let's actually go back to the McLaren. It does use a pushrod suspension system similar to F1, but actually towards the front end, not in the back. The back end still has that coilover derived suspension system. The front end is using inboard pushrod suspension. The Ferrari can lower to the ground, and so can the McLaren. I love seeing these track modes that actually have adjustable ride heights. Therefore, you could drive it on the street, right, and not be too uncomfortable. You'd probably hit a dip here and there. But then when you go to the track, you can just drop it down. These cars just get so technologically advanced with the active aero rear wings, the clever S-duct designs all over them. It's so fascinating to me. Here's where the advantages kind of switch. What do you think? Will the Ferrari be faster than the McLaren? The Ferrari's all-wheel drive, therefore much quicker out of a dig. It'll accelerate very hard leaving an apex as long as you're maximizing the line. Sometimes when you are using an all-wheel drive vehicle, when you get on power, you feel a little bit of a push, right? And you start understeering. Versus the McLaren, where when you get on power, you'll sometimes get a little bit of rotation because the back end will spin and the front end won't. So it might help you to corner a bit faster. Anyways though, where a rear-wheel drive vehicle has limitations like going full power out of an apex and kicking out, an all-wheel drive car will help to solve that. So when you look at 0 to 60, for example, this Ferrari goes 0 to 60 in just 2.1 seconds, and the McLaren goes 0 to 60 in approximately 2.7 seconds. In these podcast discussions, I like to throw different curveballs at all you guys. Consider this thought. Not only is this Ferrari quicker to 60 miles per hour, it's also quicker to 124, but the gap actually closes. Where you have basically over half a second advantage going 0 to 60, the McLaren actually catches up and goes 0 to 124 in 5.8 seconds versus 5.7 out of that Ferrari. That means that the McLaren is really catching up really fast. So I think the power to weight ratio out of this McLaren, it is better because this Ferrari weighs 300 pounds more. So the dry weight is around 3,080. It's dry, so wet, you're looking at around maybe 3,300, if not more. Wet weight for the Ferrari would be around maybe 36, 37 because the dry weight is around 3,300 pounds. You have to add pounds because from dry to wet, you're putting in fuel, you're putting in oil, you're putting in brake fluid, all the fluids that make the vehicle actually turn on and drive. I'm guessing when it comes to a rolling race, the McLaren will win if you can get traction. Another weird thing to think about, and I want to get your thoughts, how do these cars come out being so close to each other in performance and their top speeds are the same? The same. 217 miles per hour, the exact same. Doesn't make much sense. There's probably more data on that. They're probably using the same tires or another, let's say, limiting factor that is causing the top speed to go down to be the same. I know with Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2Rs, sometimes you can't really go towards a super high top speed using them. They can be more focused on the track and lap times. There are softer versions and harder ones too. If these are being maximized for the track, they're probably using the softest version of these tire compounds imaginable. I just want to know from your thoughts, are these cars as exciting as they used to be? I used to really get excited for the hypercars because they were reaching that point of being unobtainable, but they weren't too unobtainable. To me, when I view a Bugatti Veyron, I think it's cool, but it doesn't really excite me. When I see one go to a car show or a car event, it's like, nice, look at that Bugatti. But it's not as exciting to me as seeing a McLaren P1 or other vehicles. And when you look at the price, let's say the price of McLaren P1 when it came out was about $1 million. Now, that's like nobody could buy $1 million car, yet everyone can buy $1 million house in California where I live. Every house is $1 million. My point is this. When you look at these cars and how much money they're getting, it's just getting into a whole nother stratosphere. I'm viewing the Ferrari F80 similar to a Bugatti Divo now. It's a $3.9 million Ferrari. How is it almost double the price of the McLaren, yet the performance is almost identical? The downforce numbers are so close to each other. Does that make sense to you how it's double the price and they're making 799 of them versus 399 McLaren W1s? Almost double the amount of F80s being made than McLaren W1s? Yet the McLaren W1 is cheaper? $2.1 million for a more exclusive car? Technically, that should make the car way more money because the less you make of it, the more expensive it is to make. It's Ferrari making a ton of money off this F80, and they're all sold out. All these cars are sold out. Going back to being excited about new cars coming out, I'm excited to see how fast they are if people get the chance to really test them out. I can't quantify my excitement the same way when I see a $4 million car. Let me know your thoughts. Do you care about these hypercars, or are they so unrelatable, so out of this world that you're looking at and going, well, that's cool, another $4 million car that's already sold out and no one can really buy unless you have collected these cars and you get the opportunity to level up and get it, right? That's just my point here in this video. Is it a hit or is it a miss? If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. It really does help me out. And subscribe for much more great content coming out your way. Stay tuned for many more great videos coming out. So hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the new videos coming out. I'll see you in the next one. Please let me know your thoughts.